Good morning, my dear student. I am Dr. Kiran Ramrao Borkar. Now, today I am going to discuss about the polymorphism in Hydrozoa. The occurrence of more than one type of structurally and functionally different individual within a population is called as a polymorphism. What is polymorphism? The occurrence of more than one type of structurally and functionally different individuals within a population is called as a polymorphism. The class Hydrozoa of phylum Coelenterata include a large number of colonies species and that contain more than one form of individual which is called as a zooids. Okay, it means that you can say that in one colony different species that contain not one colony and that contain more than one form of the individuals and that each individuals is called as a zooids. Okay, and coelentrates have two basic zooids. Which one? Polyps and medusa. All other type of zooids are modification of these two types of zooid, that is polyps and medusa. Okay, so I just tell you about these two zooids, that is polyps and medusa. What is polyps? Polyps has a tubular body with a mouth surrounded by a tentacles at one end, and the other end is blind and usually attached by a pedal disc to the substratum. And these polyps are typically sessile, and these polyps are concerned with feeding, protection, and asexual reproductions. Okay, this polyps, it means that it is the one individuals of one colony of this obelia. Okay, and what its function? That is feeding, protection, and asexual reproductions. Okay, now with the now we see another individuals of that colony is that the medusa. Medusa has a bowl or umbrella shaped body with a marginal tentacle and mouth is centrally located in a projection, and that is the manubrium. Okay, and this manubrium is present on the ventral concave surface. Medusa are generally motile. Polyps are not motile, but this medusa are generally motile and concerned with the sexual reproduction. Polyps is concerned with sexual reproduction and medusa is concerned with the sexual reproductions. Okay, now we see the modification of polyps. Modification of polyps is that first one is that the gastrozoite is also the modified polyps. Okay, then dactylozoids and gonozoids, all these are the modified polyps. Okay, so gastrozoids, it is also called as a feeding zooids, are typically polyps with a mouth and surrounded tentacles. Okay, and dactylozoids, which are used for the defense, are polyps without a mouth and usually with a long basal tentacles. Okay, and third modified polyps is that the gonozoids, and these gonozoids are reproductive zooids derived from polyps. These gonozoids also derived from polyps, which produce sexual medusae, and that sexual medusae is also called as a gonophores. Okay, all these three are the modified polyps. And now another one is that the modification of medusae. Medusae is also the another individuals of that colony. Say this modified medusa is that nectophore, or it is also called as a nectocalyx. or swimming bill is a medusa modified for the sexual reproductions. Which one? Sexual reproductions. Okay. And nematophore is also the modified medusa, or floet is a bladder like medusa, modified medusa, and this filled with a mixture of gases and helping the colony to float on the surface. This colony float on surface. How it is possible? Because this medusa are filled with a mixture of gases. Okay. Now the third modified medusa is that the phyllozooids. What is that? Phyllozooids or bract is a leaf-life zooids studied with nematocyst and serving to protect colony. Serving to protect colony. Okay, now we see one by one. That is, first of all, we see here the polypoid zooids. And that polypoid zooids is that the gastrozoite. Okay, so the gastrozoites or the siphon are only nutritive or food ingesting individuals of colony. Look at this picture. Gastrozoites. Okay. Uh, this gastrozoites is also called as a polyps. Okay. So the gastrozoites or siphon are only the nutritive and food ingesting individuals of the colony. Each gastrozoids is tubular structure. Each gastrozoids is a tubular structure with a large mouth, a single long contractile hollow tentacle arise from the base of the gastrozoid, and it bears a numerous lateral contractile branches, and these numerous contractile branches is called as a tentilla, each ending into a knob. Look at here, each ending into a knob or coil of nematocyst. Knob or coil of nematocyst. And its example is that the apolemia. Okay. In some cases, tentacle do not occur. Okay, all this is about the gastrozoids. Okay, now we see the another gastrozoids is that the dactylozoids. What is that? Dactylozoids. These are the protective polyps. These are the protective polyps of colony and variously known as palpons, testers, or feelers. All these are the names of dactylozoids. Okay, and typically they resemble the gastrozoid except that they lack a mouth. Okay, and their basal tentacle is unbranched in Valilla and Porpita. The dactylozoids arise from the margin of the colony in the form of the long, hollow tentacle like fringing body called a tentaculozoids. Called a tentaculozoids. When associated with gonophore, the tentacle-like dactylozoids are known as a gonopalpilon, or called as a, look at this, this one is the dactylozoids. The fascia and the dactylozoids become excessively long. Look at it, this one is the dactylozoids. And what is the function of this dactylozoids? Protective polyps. Okay, this dactylozoids is the protective polyps. Now we see the uh, third third polyps zooids is that the gonozoids. They are reproductive zooids. These gonozoids are the reproductive zooids, and which are also known as a blastostyle, which also known as the blastostyle. They are without mouth and tentacle. They are without mouth and tentacles. They reproduce asexual by budding and form a medusae. These gasterogonozoids form medusae. In Valilla and Porpita, they resemble a gastrozoids and possess a mouth. Usually, the gonozoids takes the form of branch stalk, and that branch stalk is called as a gonodendra. What is that? Gonodendra. These bear grape-like cluster. Look at here. This bears grape-like grape-like structure cluster of the cluster of gonophores and often provided with the gonopalpons as a physalia. These gonozoids are the reproductive zooids. Okay. Now we see all these three are the uh, all these three are the polypoid zooids. Which one? Gastrozoids, dactylozoids, and gonozoids. Now we see here the medusoid zooids, and we see the different modified medusoid zooids also. Okay, and that modified zooids is that first one is that the nectophores or swimming bales. The swimming bales, which are also known as a nectocalyx, it is also known as a nectocalyx. Nectophores or nectozoids or medusoid form. All these are the medusoid form. Okay, and with a bale shape. Velum for radial canals and ring canals, but these are devoid of mouth, manubrium, tentacle, and sense organ. Its shape is variable and may be bilateral symmetrical, prismatic, elongated, or flattened due to well developed muscular swimming bells. Act as excellent swimming organs and help in locomotion of this colony. And its example is that the device. Okay, all this is about the nectophores. Okay, all this is about the nectophores. Now we see here next what is that? Look at here. Next one is that the pneumatophore or floats. This is also the medusoid zooids. Nematophores are the float or bladder filled with the gas. Bladder filled with the gas which keeps the colony floating. Each nematophore represents an inverted medusa bale, devoid of mesoglea and consisting of external ex, ex, umbellar wall. Consider ex umbellar. Look at this. This one is ex umbellar walls. Nematocodon and internal subumbellar wall. Internal subumbellar. Look at this. This one is internal subumbellar wall. The nematococcus or air sac having gas gland. And the wall of both these are double layer. Wall of both these are double layer and are highly muscular. And the space between these two walls is known as a gastrovascular cavity. Okay, is known as a, look at this gap present in between this exumbellar and subumbellar, and this space between the exumbellar and subumbellar is called as a gastrovascular cavity. A great degree of variation in shape and size is observed in different cephalophores. In Agalma, the float is simple and its air sac is lined by layer of chitin secreted by the epidermis. The shape of nematophore is variable may or may not be divided into number of concentric chitinous chamber arranged in one plane, and these communicate with each other and with the central chamber by force in their wall. The air sac may open or close. The air sac may be perforated by a single, several pores. Look at this. This one is a gas gland. Okay. So, perforated by a single or several pores, in some cases, the portion of float is partly constricted off and assume the form of a wide Medusa like force. This is all about Medusoid zooids. Now, we see the another modified Medusoid form is that the bract. It is also called as a phyllozooids, and the bract, which are also known as a phyllozooids, which is also known as a hydrophilia, or thick, gelatinous, curved plate of mesoglea. These may be prism-like leaf, shield, or helmet-like in appearance. They are unlike medusae and contain simple or branch gastrovascular canal. Extremity of hydrophyllum either bear mouth agalma or terminate into the nectocalyx. That is the nectocalyx is that example of this atheria, and bear's mouth. Their example is that the agalma. Now we see here the fourth medusoid zooids is that the gonophore. The gonophore or reproductive medusoids. This gonophore or the reproductive medusoids occur singly or separate stalk or in cluster on polypoid gonids as in Velilla or on simple or branch gonodendra. The gonophores may be medusa-like with bale, velum, radial canal, and membrane bearing gonads. But the mouth, tentacle, sense organ are always absent here. There is no tentacle, there is no mouth, there is no sense organ. Okay. In some of the hydrozoan, example Physaria, the female gonophore are medusa like, while the male ones are sac like. In animal like Physalia, the gonophores may remain attached to the colony. This gonophore may remain attached to the colony or set free as in female Physalia, Porpeta, and Valilla. Since they cannot feed, they perish after discharge of sex cell. The gonophore are dioecious, but the colonies are hermaphrodite. Gonophore are the dioecious, but the colonies are hermaphrodite, bearing both. What is hermaphrodite? Bearing both types of the gonophore in the same or separate cluster. Gonophores may be budded off from the pedicle of the castrozoids as in typhus, or from the bastostyle as in varilla, or from Coanosarc as in Agalmopsis. All this is about the medusoids zooids. Okay, medusoid zooids is that the nectophores, known as a nectocalyx. Then second medusoid zooid is that the nematophores or floats, which is float on water. Okay, why? Because it's filled with the gas. Nematophore is filled with the gas. And third medusoid zooids or the bract or phyllozoids. It is also known as the hydrophilia. Okay, and fourth medusoid zooids are the gonophores. Okay, and this gonophores or reproductive medusoids occur singly or separate stalk or in cluster on polypoid monozoids, as in the Velalia. Okay, this is all about the polymorphism of hydrozoids. Okay, polymorphisms of hydrozoids. Polymorphism of hydrozoids, that is the same species but different structural and functional form. Okay, thank you so much.